Assalamu alaikum friends. This is about the performance evaluation performance appraisal module. So to start with, here is the master document for the performance evaluation performance appraisal in SAP HCM. In the human resources we go to personal management, then personal development, then settings, then current settings. Then here is the edit qualification catalog that we had worked on earlier, and here is the edit appraisal catalog. So the catalog is already there, so we just need to update it, and update means that we can create new models. So here are the new models which we did create in class, and if this is not fall 2019, some other students are watching this video, then maybe the models and their names can differ. So these are the model IDs, and these are the model descriptions or names, and you can see the plus sign which shows that actually model contains some uh, components, some objects within them. So these are the model objects, and as we studied that a model can create a mini model within it, and a model is also worded as a criteria group. So this is the performance appraisal model 036. This is the model ID BS5002531, and this model actually, or the criteria group, the both terms have the same meaning in SAP ERP, has five criteria. So this model or criteria group doesn't have another model or criteria group beneath it. It just contains five criteria. So the criterias are actually objects that start with BK. The model is or the criteria group start with BS. These are the IDs for the criteria. These are the IDs for the criteria group or the model itself, the ID. And these are the descriptions. And if we double click on it, we can get some details. So this is the model ID. This is the model name. This is a performance appraisal model, a form of appraisal, and out of the four types, this is an individual appraisal. Other three possibilities are anonymous individual appraisal, multi-source appraisal, and anonymous multi-source appraisal. And we did discuss that multi-source appraisal are actually needed when there are more than one appraisers for an appraisee, and this is the case in 360-degree appraisal and also bottom-up appraisal. And there are plenty of other features in performance evaluation performance appraisal application in SAP ERP which we did discuss. So some of the additional data, let's go to the present model again. There is no data over here. We can have some description as well, and this is the valid date, and the numbering is a standard. There is no further criteria important thing here. And if we go to the result tab, which is an important tab, it says that it shall be measured on a scale of 1 to 5, and we can see that out of the three possibilities in this scale, required entry means there must be something entered manually in this particular model. So we keep in mind that we are not actually looking the details of the criteria, we are looking the details of the model itself, the criteria group. So it's mentioned that there is no entry that the model shell is not allowed to be entered and scored manually. So we can have optional entry, we can have required entry means mandatory manual entry, and we can have no entry. When we say no entry, it means there must be some sort of calculation for the model, and the calculation is based on average of the criteria, right? So, and these are the proficiencies of 1 to 5. So 1 stands for poor, 2 for the adequate, 3 for average, and then accordingly 4 and 5 for good and very good. So having seen it, we now see we double click the one of the criteria of the model, and this is the criteria of the model time management. This is the ID, this is the name of, this is the validity date, and again we can see the results are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, and there is no calculation because it is a required entry. It means that this criteria is provided with a manual score, so we need to enter the score manually from a scale of 1 to 5, so that the model then can work out the average of these five criterias based on the manual entries. And again show that we could have checked here optional entry, which means that even if we don't enter any grade, any point scale while performing the performance appraisal from this model, the system will accept it as 0. but when we have mentioned it required entry, whenever we are going to use this model and this particular criteria, the system must ask for an entry from a scale of 1 to 5. So this is how we displayed it. And if we want to create another model, we just need to keep the cursor on the catalog, and then we push this button, insert new appraisal model. And here is the new appraisal model. So I am creating the sample model. So sample model, and here is the default dates which I am accepting, and form of appraisal is performance appraisal, appraisal type is individual. So we have just worked on these two, and for the next two tabs there is no additional entry required. And the results tab, here we can mention the criteria we are looking for. So for example, I want to have it on a standard criteria of 1 to 6 rather than per scale, and no entry in the model. It has to be average of the its constituents. I save it, I close it, and the new model is there. There is no plus sign because there is no criteria beneath it. I select it. So now in order to create criteria for this model, I have to select this model first. So I select this model, and there is a spelling mistake which we can just double click and correct. So let me correct it and save it again so that it's correct. Now I selected it and keep my cursor. I have to keep my cursor on the sample model from in which I want to create some criteria, and I insert a criteria. The system is asking, do I want to create a mini model within it, criteria group or a criteria? So I want to create a criteria, and the criteria name is say uh, discipline, and we accept the default dates, and our result is by default standard criteria 1 to 6. We can override this, but we want to keep it as it is, and we make it a required entry. Of course, no calculation. We save it, and right from here we can create a new criteria. So the new criteria is state, for example, and again the same result. So we don't need to change anything else, but we need to make it a required entry, and we entered and we saved and we crossed. So you can see that the two criteria have been created here, and now we can actually make use of this model in the performance appraisal. So this was about the appraisal catalog, and in the next video we shall see how to use these catalogs to do the performance appraisals. Thank you.